Car fix back. Car fix back.
Car fix back. Car fix back.
Car fix back. Car fix back.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of First Canada Live. I am your host Karthik, and we are here for another good show to have a good time talking about all the good stuff that's happening in the First Canada community right now. That's what we do here. We talk about robots, story, community initiatives, all the good stuff. And speaking of good stuff, we have a co-host here today from the First Canada Youth Council and Team 5024 Radar Robotics. Say hello to Jordan. Hey, Jordan. Jordan, you are muted.
It's not like that's happened before, but
Never to anyone. Never.
How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I've got a lot of energy, a lot of excitement. I guess, Jordan, this would have been the traditional March break, right?
Yeah, I believe so. And I think a year ago today, I was at my first FRC competition.
Oh, wow.
Magazine event.
Yeah. So, all sorts of good stuff has been happening, and we're here for a good show. Are you excited for today's show?
Oh, yeah. I'm super excited for our lineup today.
Well, the lineup includes, the Kahoot Challenge is back. We've got a challenger for Brennan Vivek. His name is Curtis, and he's an alum of Team 4678. So that'll be going on. We're going to be talking with Amanda Chan, who is a First Canada alum of Team 771, now working for Amazon. So we're going to talk a little bit about her journey and what it's like working for Amazon and all that sort of good stuff. And of course, we're going to have a wrap up of our first FTC qualifier, which took place on the weekend. So lots of good stuff. Are you very familiar with FTC, Jordan, or is this going to be like all new to you?
I've seen FTC and I've watched a bunch of FTC matches before, but I'm not on the FTC team. So
all right, it's some pretty cool stuff they're doing. I really love the game they have this year, and so they've been having like these virtual tournaments where teams film videos of their robot competing at home, and then they compete for the highest score. And so it's gonna be cool to take a look at some of that. And we're gonna recognize the award winners from the weekend too. So that's gonna be pretty special. But I think before we get any of that started, I think it's time to do our Youth Council Wellness moment, right, Jordan?
Yeah. So today I think I'm going to be talking about finding balance, which is kind of like a podcast episode name, but let's get into it. So in our lives, we have all kinds of priorities, obligations, relationships, interests, and activities that compete for our time. And we have the things that we really must do, like, going to school, going to work, caring for others, and more. And we also have things that we enjoy and make us happy, like spending time with family and friends, working on a hobby, or playing on a team or an FRC team. And balance is how we do things and the things that we have to do on the things that we want to do without changing the number of hours in a day. But why does balance matter and what can it look like? Well, balance means that we can fully engage in what we need or want to do without having that nagging guilt or worry that we should be doing something else. And it really means understanding our own boundaries and needs so that we have the freedom to pursue the various roles and identities we want to have or do have in our lives. And it's also good to keep in mind that balance is individual and you mustn't need to compare yourself to what balance looks like for others. So, for example, some people may need a lot of downtime to relax while others like to stay busy for most of their time. And some people like being more connected while others appreciate more time on their own. And a big part of balance is deciding what tasks or activities are priorities and what tasks or activities aren't important or can wait. And this definitely is something that does not happen overnight, but it's something that you can achieve over time and is malleable to the different needs at different times. So like, for example, you may have to spend more time at work for a short period of time. And of course, unexpected obligations will come up from time to time, but it's still important to take time for yourself, even if you may find it difficult to fit everything into your day. So how do I know if I found balance? Well, these two questions are things that I like to ask myself. Number one is, when I've taken care of everything that I have to do, do I have time and energy to enjoy the things that I want to do? And another question is, can I get absorbed in something without worrying about another task or feeling guilty because I'm not doing something else? And if I can say yes to both of those questions, then I guess for me, that means I'm on the right track to a healthier work-life balance.
Yeah, I think this is a really important one, the school life balance or work life balance for everyone involved. And, a lot of this goes back to, designing a robot. And that's going to sound like a little bit weird, but like, what does that have to do with designing a robot? But like the best principles we have for designing a robot are actually some of the best principles we have for managing our own lives. And one of those is, like the jack of all trades is the master of none. Like you could easily have so many interests and you want to do everything, but it's better to do, if you have like 30 units of energy to expend, it's better to do 3 things at 10 out of 10 than 6 things at 5 out of 10. And so it's about, like you said, Jordan, focusing on what's most important to you. And some of these are choices, and then some of these should be pretty natural. Because like number one, I think everyone's priority, student, adult, whatever it be, is your health. Taking care of yourself, your physical and mental health, because mental health is physical health. So taking care of that, your family, your loved ones, making sure you have time for that. For students now at school, like obviously is a major part. It's going to affect so many things in life. And so obviously we all want to dedicate so much time to our hobbies and to first teams and to play, but it's about finding that right balance. And I know, especially when you're in high school, there's just so many options now. And even when you're on a first team, be like, yeah, I want to do the game design challenge. I want to do the innovation challenge. I want to do chairman's. I want to do dean's list. But you can't necessarily do everything. And, that's why it's important to spread things out and, have a team that's inclusive and you work together with diverse groups and you spread things out. So everyone has a chance to maintain their balance. And so I think this is a really great message. And, I'm kind of directing this at the students, but this applies for adults too. I see it all the time. I see it in my friend groups where people are just, trying to do too much. It's like, you can't do everything, and that's okay. And that's okay. And I think, if you're going to be a good friend, I think it's always to be like, to reassure people like, hey, it's okay. You don't have to do everything. You don't, I have this one friend where I tell her, it's like, you may be Beyonce, but you're not Superwoman. You can't do everything, and it's okay. You don't have to be. So we don't have to be superheroes.
Mm-hmm.
I won't put on my Iron Man suit right now or anything like that. But thank you, Jordan. That's a really great message there. Balance, everyone. Take some time to think about how you could achieve your balance and where you can find it. But now that we talked about balance, Jordan, I think maybe we can talk about some of the news updates, stuff that's going on with First Canada. And I guess one of the cool ones is there's a news update you can talk specifically to, but I hear there's a magazine coming out, Jordan. What's up with this?
Tomorrow, a new issue of the First Canada Youth Council's magazine, Being First, is going to be coming out. And you can check that out at magazine.firstroboticscanada.org.
And yeah, so the Youth Council's put this together. You and the team put a lot of stuff together. Like, what's the article that you're most excited about? This
that one's definitely going to be a bit difficult, but we have an FTC team from Romania that we've interviewed, and I'm really excited for what they've brought to the table. And I believe it's FTC team RO2D2.
Ooh, nice name. I like that. Yeah. RO2D2, get a Romania. Oh, it's all coming to me. Nicely done. That's pretty awesome. So magazine coming out tomorrow, you said, magazine.firstroboticscanada.org.
Yes.
I really encourage everyone to check it out because there's like a lot of neat stories in there. And, if you enjoy First Canada Live, partially because of the storytime segments, there's a whole bunch of articles in there which are really mimic that same sort of feel. So it's really cool and you should check that out. For all the mentors who are on the call today, who are watching the show, if you want to have a chat with some other FRC and FTC mentors, tune in for the mentor chat this Thursday at 7 p.m. March 18th. And just check your email blasts for the link to that chat and join in. It's a casual Zoom call for mentors to share best practices, talk about how their teams have been operating, talk about all the cool things that your students are doing, or you can just talk gossip with the students you really don't like. That's not a thing. They don't actually do that. They like everyone. Yeah, it's a good time. So go on for that. Jordan, do you know what's happening next week at this time?
Next week at this time?
Yep.
Ooh, could you fill me in?
I can't fill you in. Where we would normally have an episode of First Canada Live, we're going to be having the Ontario FRC Awards Show, where we are going to be announcing the winners of the District Chairman's Award and District Dean's List semifinalists. So all the students who are, I know right now, there's interviews going on right now, I believe, for both Dean's List and Chairman's. All those interviewees are going to be a big part of the show because we're going to be announcing all the nominees and the winners. Plus, we're going to take a look back at the STEMathon, which I'll talk about in a second, which is happening this weekend, but we'll have the award-winning presentations of the STEMathon live on the show. So it's going to be really neat. It's a great show. Tune in to find out if your team's won awards. Tune in to find out your friends' teams have won awards. Tune in to hear from the FIRST community. We'll have some special guests. John Hobbins will be on the show, which might mean there might be a wrap. It's going to be a good time. But these award shows, and it's gonna be a blast. I am very excited to see who has won what. That'll be really cool. And I mentioned the STEMathon because the STEMathon is taking place this weekend. So now registrations are closed. However, if you're curious, it's like, well, what is this? Maybe I want to do that next year. We'll be broadcasting live on our Twitch channel, both the opening and closing ceremonies. So opening ceremonies on Saturday at 10 and closing ceremonies, I believe, Sunday at 1:30. So if you're curious, check it out. And we're going to have some really cool features in there. The Youth Council is going to have a panel discussion with Dr. Janelle Kaplan from First Headquarters, who's the EDI director. Mr. Brenner, Mark Brenner, president of First Canada, is going to be on. Dorothy Byers, chairperson of the board of directors for First Canada, will be on. We got some other special guests. You want to learn how to give the best pitch. Celeste Nantel will be talking about that. So all sorts of great stuff. So you should tune, even if you aren't participating in the STEMathon, you should tune in to watch, and it'll be on our Twitch channel, and then it will be on our YouTube channel afterwards. For teams who opted in for the Infinite Recharge at Home Skills Competition, you can start submitting your runs now. Final deadline is March 8th. And just a reminder, you can submit your runs now, and then you can change them. You can submit a new one. But once you hit the lock-in button, they're locked in. So just a reminder on that. Also, if your team's been doing cool stuff, whether it be Game Design Challenge, Innovation Challenge, Infinite Recharge at Home, and you want to show that off to the world, well, you can do that on First Canada Live starting at the end of March. We're going to be taking teams to be on the show to give the presentations that they're giving to the judges. You can give them to the whole world so everyone can learn all the details about your robot or the game you designed or your innovation. So all sorts of cool stuff. So I think it's pretty exciting, don't you, Jordan?
Oh, definitely. Awards, the STEMathon, so many more things. It's really giving me the thrill of competitions, even if we can't be there in person this year.
Right. Yeah, and that's the whole idea, like we know like this isn't the same, and we understand that, but at least we can have some of it, and we can form that sense of community, and we can chat with each other and celebrate the accomplishments. And I know like some people will be like, oh, I don't know if I want to, like my team didn't submit anything, or I don't think we're going to win. Well, first of all, if you submitted something, you have a shot to win. You don't know, you have no idea. You never know. Teams always get surprised by awards, but I think it's just cool how the community always supports each other, and you cheer on another team or you want to hear their stories and all that. So it'll be really cool. Jordan, I'm sure some of your friends have probably been nominated for Dean's List.
I think I know a couple people on the Youth Council who've also been nominated for Dean's List.
Yes, definitely. And people from actually, I can tell everyone a secret here. There was 49 nominees. So there's a lot of cool students who are being interviewed right now. So tune in for that show. It's going to be a great time. But I think that's it for the news updates. Jordan, unless you have any news for us.
I don't think I have any other news, so I guess we can move ahead on to what else we're going to talk about today.
Well, I think we're going to jump into the FTC Qualifier #1 recap. But before we do that, let's take a look at a word from one of our sponsors, Enbridge. Hey, we're back. And now it's time for our FTC Qualifier #1 recap. And to do that, we have a First Canada alum of Team 1360, First Canada game announcer, former member of the First Canada Youth Council, and an engineering student at Queen's University, the one, the only Connor Bosey. Hey, Connor.
Hello, Karthik. How are you tonight?
I am doing great. How are you been, buddy?
You know what? It's been a great time. Got the genuine pleasure to work with you and the rest of the amazing team on the FTC Qualifier on Saturday. Definitely been the highlight of the past few weeks.
Yeah, and so it was a lot of fun. So FTC, We've been talking a little bit about FTC on the show. It's the middle level program for First Canada. The robots are like yay big by yay big, but there's so much packed into these robots. And this year they had like a unique challenge. They had to shoot these 4-inch rings into various goals or at various targets. They had to pick up these heavy bases known as wobble goals off the ground. They had to move them around and then throw them out of the field at the end of the match, which is like a cool sort of dynamic that you have to like toss stuff out of the field. But these teams, like Connor, like watching the event, lots of them are working in their homes, right?
Yeah. A lot of these teams, I was really just blown away by how much these teams were able to accomplish. Like when you think of FRC and FTC and all the first events, you think, working closely with your team, being with each other and working on all that. And these teams don't have that this year. And they still got these amazing robots done that like, it was just a genuine pleasure to watch.
Right. And some of the stories you'd hear about where, one student would work on one part of the robot at his house and another student would work on another part of the robot at their house. And then they'd somehow like drop them off or whatever. Then someone would assemble them together. And then someone else was coding at their house. Like it was just like true, like not to say that normal teams aren't true collaboration, but this was like collaboration in the most extreme sort of situation. And the fact that these teams found a way to make it happen. And we saw our First Tech League Challenge teams found a way to make it happen. And it's really cool that the First Tech Challenge teams found a way too. And with more, I don't want to say more complicated robots because that undersells what the First Lego Challenge teams do, but like different types of complications, and to come up with these types of attachments and wiring and coding. And so it was really cool. And what did you think of the gameplay, Connor?
You know what? It's watching the video, obviously the game was not developed for single teams to be playing it at a time. But I think that surprisingly enough, it did translate very well to individual teams playing it. In a normal game, you'd have 4 robots on the field, you'd have defense, both alliances have 2 people. And the tower goal is they actually shoot rings in, they actually alternate between which alliance's goal is
red, blue, red. So
and then the other one's obviously the opposite.
So like if you were shooting at the red high goal, but then you missed, you could end up scoring the blue goal by accident.
Yeah, and I think honestly, other than defense, that's the only nuance that like individual play really missed. But it was still, you got to see them shooting for the goals. You got to see them going for the power shot targets, these little pegs they had to knock down. Yeah. As Karthik mentioned, these wobble goals, they still had to do the randomization because they actually have to go to different places in the autonomous period based on how many rings start on a little square. And I think that's super cool that they programmed auto routines to be like, all right, how many rings are here? Where does this goal go? So I think, little parts of the game obviously can't translate without all the robots there, but it was a very good game to translate to individual play.
Yeah. And again, the adaptation, I thought the FTC game design committee really adapted really well from a traditional 2 versus 2 to these 1 versus none games where teams would play 6 matches on their own at, within a certain time frame as dictated by the FTC rules. And then they'd be ranked based on the sum of their 6 matches that they did individually. And so at first, I think a lot of people were like, oh, well, if they're just playing by themselves, where's the strategy? But there was a lot of strategy involved with how you path your match and how you set up your match to ensure that you're maximizing your scores. So there was some really cool stuff. And we're going to take a look at one match right now, Connor. This was from Dr. X Academy, team 16-4-17. I believe they finished in 3rd place overall, but this is one of their matches where they scored 178 points. So we're going to watch this, and then Connor and Jordan, we can talk over this match as it's happening, so you can see the cool stuff that goes on.
3, 2, 1.
So away you see
one of the coolest things that you can currently see. Yeah, sorry, is there's no rings on the field right now. So Dr. X, they're lining up to shoot, but you can also see they've got like this wobble goal in their arm, and nobody's driving the robot right now. But because there's no rings there, they're currently looking at that to figure out where to put that goal, which is that target right there. The other 2 targets correspond to if there was 1 ring and 4 rings, which is super cool.
I really enjoy how their human player has the rings on their arm as like that's the best way of storing all of them. So now that they're getting ready for the teleoperated mode, in FTC, it's 30 seconds of autonomous mode, so longer than an FRC. Here we go. A really smooth Mecanum drive. Mecanum drives are really popular in FTC, and unlike FRC, they're actually effective and they make sense for this program. So,
yeah, I mean the lighter weight of the robots and just the more it provides them more maneuverability for just less complex. I wouldn't say less complex, but just different drivetrains that are required.
And it's nice because with the FTC style motors and where they're geared, you can just direct drive to each of the Mecanum wheels, and then boom, like your drivetrain is set, which is nice. And also in a game with no defense, Mecanum makes sense. I love these rings because they fly really well. It's just kind of a cool visual. Bang, bang, you know?
They remind me of the just the frisbees from Ultimate Ascent way back in the
Yes.
day. But I think another thing that's like really interesting there is back in the day, you know, you could load from the field like these guys have to, or you could load from the feeder stations. And as you'll notice, as the human player drops the rings, they just kind of roll,
Yeah.
which gives you that unpredictable outcome of where these rings going to end up.
And you're probably wondering, it's like, well, why doesn't the human player just lay them flat? Well, they only have a slot they can go in. It's like a coin slot, and they come out sideways, so then they roll wildly. So I saw a team, not from our event, but a team from Vermont that has bars on the side of their robot that pop out. So when the rings try and roll past them, the bars knock them down. I thought that was like very smart.
That's cool.
Yeah. I feel like every team's going to have those now because like you see one team do it.
So you'll notice that Dr. X keeps coming back to this white line here. That is the launch line. And they always have to be shooting from behind that line if they're going into the middle or top goal, which, again, just kind of complicates how you get them in because it'd be a lot easier if you could be closer, but you can't be as close as you want, right?
Now they're shooting for the power shots targets. Ooh,
Yeah, so we've gone into the end game period. I think they also they're going to come grab this wobble goal here, and we'll see if they can put it in the drop zone. The drop zone is like outside of the field, like Karthik was saying earlier, towards like the close end of the field, and there it is. It's out of the field.
Drop zone, drop zone is like a cool name. It's like the danger zone. Highway to the danger. Top Gun 2 is coming out.
No, I'm well aware of Top Gun.
Okay,
Movie
thank you,
soundtrack,
thank
so
you,
basically
thank you.
That song 3 times.
I love Top Gun so much. Okay, so that was the match. Dr. X's high score was 178 points, and they did very well at the tournament. They've done really well all season long. But the other cool thing is FTC has an award called the Controls Award, which is, you know, for like control components and all that sort of good stuff. Before we even get that, Jordan, what did you think of that one?
Oh my gosh, it's so cool to watch these FTC matches, especially with components of the robot, like you guys mentioned, the Mecanum wheels. You don't necessarily get to see that too much in FRC. So to see those smooth driving in FTC, it's really great.
Yeah, and you know, speaking of smooth driving, so the Controls Award recognizes teams who've done unique or excellent things with control systems on their robot, whether it be vision, whether it be use of sensors, whether it be programming. But instead of just it being about talking to the judges, you actually have to make a video that highlights some unique control components. And we're going to highlight one team right now, team 18433 Makeshift Tech. So let's take a look at their controls video. We can talk over this one too. So like, as Connor was saying, at the start of the match, you have to detect how many rings are on the field to know where to put the wobble goal. And so this is showing how Makeshift Tech behaves depending on there being 0, 1, or 4 rings on the field.
Actually, I think it's really interesting on the one on the far right, where you see there's more rings, they actually load up again, so they'll have more rings to shoot again to really optimize their 30 seconds of autonomous. Whereas in the other routines, they're grabbing more wobble goals for more points.
And it's really neat how this video is laid out. You wouldn't necessarily realize the coolness that's happening, but now you see it. Now you can see how their automatic gyro alignment works during shooting. So the robot gets spun or turned, it automatically comes back to its heading at the goal. The robot's just like, don't mess with me. Do you know where I'm from? I'm from Hamilton. I'm not from Hamilton. And anyone who's worked on a shooting robot before, whether it be an FRC or any other program, knows one of the hardest things is to get your shooter speed back up to RPM after you fire one shot, because as one shot goes through, the traction and the friction slows the wheel down. And if you feed your next shot in too quickly, then your next shot's going to fall short. And so you use bang bang control, which is a way of ramping your speed back up and getting it back to the right speed, and so it's not too high and everything like that. So very cool stuff by Makeshift Tech. Connor, what was like the coolest thing you saw at the event, or about the event that you thought in general?
Oh boy. You know what it is it's just seeing the different strategies of teams. You know, you go to an event, and you know, like let's say you go to an in-person event, and you watch how, you know, the teams are interacting with each other, and they have their own strategies, but they change per match because they're, you know, working with each other. And I think the interesting thing is to watch how team strategies change based on what auto routine they had to run, and then what's happening in the match. We saw some matches on Saturday where, like we said about those rings, they just kind of all rolled together and clumped up, which made it harder for them to intake. So you can see how like teams make the live action decision making. So even though it's not like other robots or the other team that's causing issues for your optimal performance, you can still see the strategy being changed on the fly. And I think it's so cool to watch how teams are still handling that and dealing with unprecedented issues, even without other teams around.
Yeah, I think it's a really cool challenge, and no matter what, when you're building robots, there's going to be some form of adversity. There's going to be some sort of challenges, and the challenges obviously are different when you don't have opponents on the field. But it's also, I think one of the things that's hard is you're also very much on your own, because at a first event, if you're struggling with your robot and you can't figure it out, you just go to the team in the pit next to you and be like, hey, can you take a look at this? Like, we've never seen this before. And they'll be like, oh yeah, we saw this 3 weeks ago. And you don't have that. So, but what has been cool is a lot of the FTC teams are on the the First Ontario Team Support Slack. And we've seen teams be like, I don't know how to program the sensor. And then other teams just dive in and be like, here's some advice and here's how you do this. And so that's really been cool that teams have found other ways to build a sense of community and support each other, which is really, really neat. Gordon, what was your favorite thing about all this FTC goodness?
I guess, like I talked about earlier, seeing different components of robot that aren't necessarily common or seen in FRC. So like, the gyro stabilizing, like I don't think I've ever seen that in FRC yet. So that was really cool to watch.
Well, and I think what's cool is, Jordan, because like some FRC teams do that stuff, but because of this control award video, we get to see it up close, because like you might not notice it when you're watching a match, from 20 feet away as you see the robot, but when you see these special videos, I would love it if teams made more videos like this, just highlighting the cool stuff on the robot, because everyone's proud of the stuff with the robot, and like it's easy, like everyone's got a phone, just like do that, even I figured out how to use OBS, so I'm just saying, you can do this cool stuff. Connor, I think it's time to recognize the awards winners, don't you?
100%, Carl. Let's do it.
All right, let's take a look to see who the award winners are at FTC, the First Tech Challenge Qualifier number 1. The Design Award, first place, Team 18960, Team Vanguard. The Motivate Award, third place, Team 17003, SMT Titans. We coined them 003. I like that. I think that's pretty good. Second place, Team 18828, Star Dream. And first place, Team 18846, Robotics. The Control Award, which we just talked about from the video we saw from Makeshift. Second place, Team 16399, Team Quantum. And first place, we saw their video, Team 18433, Makeshift Tech. The Innovate Award, first place, 16397, Relatively Quantum. The Connect Award, first place with the Team 18844, the Proteins. And the Think Award, third place, Team 18824, Endeavor. Second place, 18920, Robotic Storm. And first place, Team 16417, Dr. X Academy. And the top ranked robot award. So in fourth place, this is for all 6 of their matches, all combined. Team 18920, Robotic Storm. Team 16397, Relatively Quantum in third place. Second place, Team 16417, Dr. X Academy. And first place, Team 18844, Proteins. And finally, the Inspire Award, which is like the Champions Award in FLL, kind of combines all the areas, most prestigious award. Third place, Dr. X Academy, Team 16417. Second place, Team 16397, Relatively Quantum. And first place, Team 18960, the Team Cosmonites. Congratulations to all the teams who competed, and thank you to our amazing volunteers. The next FTC scrimmage is going to be on showcase is going to be on April 10th. The event's going to run April 3rd to April 9th. So that's going to be a good one. We're going to have a lot of the same teams with some teams who haven't competed yet. And then the provincial championship for FTC, May 15th will be the showcase as part of the First Canada Digital Expo, but the event's going to run from May 1st to May 8th. So it's going to be really cool. Hey, Connor, man, thank you so much. It's always a blast to have you on the show. We'll have you back again at some point, and I can't wait to work with you on another one of these events.
I appreciate it. Have fun, guys.
All right, Connor, enjoy. Stay safe out there. Okay, buddy?
100%.
All right, man. Take it easy, Connor. All right, before we get to our next segment, let's just, we'll be back in just a second. And we're back. Time for the Kahoot Challenge, the 9th Kahoot Challenge we've had on First Canada Live this season. So introducing first our challenger, First Canada alum from Team 4678 and current geomatics student at the University of Waterloo. We have Curtis Strike. Curtis, how's it going? Right, Curtis, did I pronounce your last name correctly?
Yes, you did actually.
Okay.
Most
Awesome.
people get it wrong, so you're good.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, Curtis, thank you so much for being here. You got a big challenge, though. You know that, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, because you're going up against our champion, First Canada alum and lead mentor for Team 4476, the Waffles, a First Canada game announcer, and was a 2014 Dean's List finalist. We've got Brennan Vivek on the show. Hey, Brennan.
Hey, good to be back.
Oh, yeah. Good to have you back, man. So you've taken down a lot of people along the way. You took down Rishi, right? Was your first one?
Rishi was taken down by Mickey. So
Rishi was taken down by Mickey. Yes, then
Yeah.
you took down Mickey. You took down Parsuthar.
Yeah.
You took down
Gregor.
Sorry, who?
Gregor.
Gregor. Oh yeah, you took down Gregor.
Tegan.
Tegan. Is that it? Just 4 that you've taken down? It feels like so much more, man.
Maybe.
This is like a Ken Jennings like streak. This is fabulous stuff here. So, but I think Curtis, I think you're going to be a good chunk because you've done pretty well in the audience a few times, right?
Yes, I was close last week, but I mean, I wasn't challenger last week, so.
Jordan, are you going to play along?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, grab your phone, play along. We'll see what's going on. So let's get started with our Kahoot challenge. So while everyone gets signed up, we're going to head on over to kahoot.it on your phone, and the code will be coming up in just a second. But before the code comes up, I can tell you what the prizes are going to be, because the prizes are for everyone who's playing in the audience. You can win a First Canada fanny pack. That's what first place is going to get you. Second place, a First Canada moleskin notebook. And third place, a First Canada toque. So some really good swag there. And also, if you're not in the top 3, you still have a chance, because there's a good chance that like Brennan or Curtis are going to be in the top 3. I mean, Brennan almost always is. So we'll see how that goes. We're just waiting for the Kahoot to come up. We're having those, technical difficulties getting that all loaded up. But so, I know Brennan and Curtis, you belong to a community, the XRC community, where you basically have a first styled video game where teams play and compete, and they do alliance selection and all that good stuff. Who's that community cheering for tonight? Are they cheering for Brennan or Curtis? Last time the Waffles were cheering for Tegan. So
I don't know. I was just looking at our messaging platform.
Yeah.
People seem to be cheering for both, or just interested to see what happens. I don't know exactly. Maybe they're gonna talk in Twitch chat. There's a couple there now.
Okay. Well, Curtis, Mr. Brenner has some faith in you. He goes, this could be the night that Brennan loses his crown. We'll see. And Just Call Me Jeff is saying he's cheering for Curtis.
Alrighty, got some expectations now.
Brennan, even your mom is like, this is going to be interesting, stiff competition tonight. So
It's always a close one when there's people who are really invested in scouting and stuff, as Curtis is.
So Curtis, as Brennan said, so when you were on 4678, what were you, obviously scouting, but anything else you were really focused on?
So I was kind of like an interesting FRC student. So I liked helping out everywhere. And so for the first couple of years, I was kind of just like, hey, where do you need me? I'll help out. And so, I stayed late, helped out in mechanical, and like, oh, some other people need help. Let's go do that. Yeah, grade 11, really like got into scouting, a lot of fun. Took on like a lot of roles, like a big role for that. So build season was always like, oh, let's help out, with mechanical a bunch. And then when it was competition season, you scouted like crazy, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's absolutely a lot of fun. So Brennan, I've got some good news for you, and I've got some bad news for you. Okay. The good news is your mom says she's a fan of yours, so that's good. The bad news is that your girlfriend's cheering for Curtis.
Ooh.
But
you win some, you lose some.
To be fair, you beat her on the show last week, so I can understand that.
True.
But she just says she does want it to be close. So, all right, there we will. Everyone get joining in Kahoot.it. Your code is 1204820. So, Team 120 world champions in 2016, and Team 48 world champions in 1999. But I don't think Team 20 has won a world championship.
I don't think so either.
Maybe back in like the early 90s, if I know. But they're an original sustaining team.
Definitely been on Einstein several times though.
Yeah.
So.
All right, so we got people playing here. Brennan, are you in already?
I am.
And your name is?
Smooth Impala.
Smooth Impala. Nice. And Curtis?
I'm Helpful Condor.
Ooh, Helpful Condor. What about you, Jordan?
I'm Great Squid.
Great Squid.
I really like the name Smooth Impala. It's kind of reminding me of like Tame Impala, but like off-brand.
Yeah.
Brennan, do you know someone named Super MC Matrix?
Yes.
Because
He's
they're
another
like,
XRC sim.
Breb deserves to lose. Go Curtis. Boom. Okay, the
Curtis
trash
has got
talk's
some
coming out.
fans.
Yeah, the trash talk's coming out here. Ooh, Smiling Stork. I gotta say, Curtis, like I'm just kind of a fanboy of Team 4678's robots. Just like all the joints and the craziness and everything's so wild. So,
Oh, I know. I couldn't have asked for a better team, honestly.
but I'm not cheering for anyone here. I'm totally impartial.
Okay.
I just don't want to see someone get shut out like Parsuthar did. So
Yeah.
okay, we got 19 players. I think that's good enough to get started here. So let's do this. Who challenged? Round 8. Let's start 8th, not our 9th. Round 8. First question. What percentage of FRC teams are from outside the United States as of 2020? 9, 19, 34, or 49? What percentage of FRC teams are from outside the United States? I know when I first started, there was only one team from outside the United States. It was my team, Team 188. I was fortunate enough to be a high school student of Mr. Mark Brenner and my high school teammate, Sean Lynn. We went down to Florida for that first event. I think there was 204 teams that year, and we were the only international. But things have grown a lot since then, obviously. The correct answer, 19%, which a good chunk of you got. Brendan, did you get that one correct?
I did.
Curtis?
Indeed.
Okay. All right. It starts off.
Comes
Let's
down
see.
to speed.
Glad I'm not going to get shut out now. This is good. It's a good start.
All right. Hey, Great Squid. Jordan is in the lead. Well, looky here, folks.
Oh my gosh.
All right. Canada has the second most FRC teams of any country. Which team has the third most? Australia, Israel, Mexico, or Turkey? Mr. Brenner in chat mentions like, yes, and we won an award our first year. We did. Back then, there was an award for best strategy in Team 188. We won that in our first year, our first ever event, best strategy. I take a little pride in that one as the drive coach back then. So
They had some interesting awards back then.
they did. The correct answer is Turkey. Wow. Not everyone, a lot of people went hard on Israel. Brennan, did you get this one?
I did not.
Oh, wow. Did you guess Israel?
Yeah.
Oh, and Curtis?
Same. I knew it was either Israel or Turkey, but I thought like Israel's been around a bit longer, like as a district. So
Israel's been around
Israel.
Since 2005. That was the first year of the Israeli event. But Turkey's had huge growth over the last few years. So they're over 100 teams, actually. So
Wow.
okay, let's see. Jordan, did you get that one?
Yes.
Oh,
Wow.
Jordan
it.
in the lead. Look at this, man. The ringer, he sneaks in here. You cancel. He got the magazine dropping, man. Everything's coming up, Jordan, this week. It was your birthday last week, right, brother?
It was. Yes, it was.
All right, next question. Let's see if Jordan can hold on to this. Which FRC team was featured in the popular book, The New Cool? 254, 610, 1717, or 2056? These are all 4 teams who are very cool. You know, like they legit robots every year, great attitude, great energy, a lot of big fan bases. You can buy 254 hoodies online. You can buy 610 hoodies online. You cannot buy 2056 hoodies online. They're hard to come by. And 1717 was, I mean, when they were a team, like that was like everyone wanted to go to their pit to see what awesomeness they came up with. So
Definitely.
you know that there's a story about me in the New Cool, actually. There's a little sentence in there.
I didn't.
Yeah, they're talking to Amir was I'm giving stuff away. I don't want to give it away yet. I'll give it away after. Correct answer is Team 1717. So in the book, so it focuses on Team 1717, and their lead mentor was, his name's Amir, and he's awesome, brilliant, very inspirational dude, just like fantastic. And it was based on the 2009 FRC season. And so that year, if you won matches by too many points in the elimination rounds, you actually got punished. So there was incentive to keep your matches close. But so on 1114, the team that I was working with that year, we decided that we would design our robot so it could score on itself, so we could take a big lead and then back. And so there's a story where Amir's talking to me, and he's like, "Why can your robot? Like, why does your turret spin 360?" I'm just like, "Oh, so we can score on ourselves when we're beating someone by a lot." And I winked at him, and then somehow that made it into the story. So. Anyways, that's new cool. It's a really good book. You should check it out. It's available on Amazon, available at all your libraries. It's a really neat read for anyone who's an FRC. And also, if you're someone who's loves FRC, but has only been doing it for a few years, it gives you an idea of what the program was like. I hate saying this, but back in the day. Brendan, that was your first year of high school, right? 2009?
Yeah, first year competing on an FRC team.
Oh, that's right.
I was at that event, in the championship event. That was exciting.
Because your team won Rookie All-Star that year, correct?
Yeah, at the regional level. Yep.
All right, let's go check the standings. Hey, Jordan, did you get that one?
I did get that one.
Jordan's still in the lead. Great squid. Oh boy. All right. Turkey might haunt you too. Which FRC team has a small cameo in Drake's I'm Upset video? Team 118, the Robonauts. Team 254, the Cheesy Poops. Team 1114, Symbotics. Or Team 1678, the Citrus Circuits. Oh, there's so much I want to say about this picture, but I would give stuff away, so I'm not going to say anything. But that is Drake, who used to star on a TV show with the gentleman beside him. Correct answer is Team 1114. That's right, because the I'm Upset video is set in the high school of the TV show that Drake was on, Degrassi. And so they use footage from the Degrassi episodes that 1114 was on. So it's a neat little tie-in there to be like, yeah, Drake, what up? That's Drake's association with First now, folks. You heard it here. All right, Jordan, you get that one?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Wow, Jordan. Curtis?
I forgot Drake was Canadian, so I was like, okay, it's got to be an American team. So I got it. I guess one.
How can you forget Drake is Canadian? He's like the most Toronto mans in the world.
It's not my type of music.
Have you heard this man talk? He just talks pure Toronto slang. Brennan, you got that one, right?
I did.
Okay. All right.
I should have known.
Well, Jordan's still up in the lead, but the Smooth Impala is coming up on you, Jordan. Watch out. Okay. Question number 5. In the 2008 season, Canadian teams had the two highest single event OPRs in the world going into champs. Who was third? Because if I asked you who the top two were, you would have gotten that one really easily. So who was third? Was it Team 217, the Thunder Chickens, who won championship that year? Team 233, Pink, who lost in the semis, Einstein semis. 254, whose robot was just gorgeous that year. Or Team 330, the Beach Bots, who had a really simple but elegant robot that year. These are like 4 of the highest scoring robots that year, but only one is the correct answer.
Yeah, I think I was 4 years old when this would be happening, so I have no idea.
So most people thought it was 217, but it was 233. Brennan, did you get that?
I did.
Wow, Brennan, the one person who got it. And Curtis?
Well, no, I didn't.
No, obviously right. Right.
Yeah.
Nicely done, Brennan. That was a tough one. What made you go for Pink there?
I thought 217 was up there, maybe second or first between 1114, because I think you two were like considered like top 2.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, well, 233 or 254. I'm not sure which one.
It actually surprised me, Brennan, because when I looked this one up, I was like, I knew 1114 was going to be number 1 that year, because they actually had their OPR was 43% higher than the next time.
Yeah.
Which is like wild.
That doesn't happen anymore. Second
place was 2056. This was only in their second year, but that robot, which was really good, but it doesn't necessarily compare to like some of the 2056 robots we saw in subsequent seasons. But they were really up there. But at that GTR that year, 11, 14, 26. But 233's robot, You've that same pink elevator with a giant claw at the end of it, and I don't understand how it survived those forces, but it was a very good robot. But nicely done. So let's take a look at the standings. Jordan, you still have your lead, or did Brennan answer fast enough to pass you? Oh no, Jordan still got the lead by 150 points. So Brennan's got to still make up some room here. Question number 6. Which FRC team won the first ever event in 1992? Team 45, Team 47, Team 126, or Team 188?
Yeah, I think I ceased to exist before this happened. So once again, I'm guessing.
I don't think Brennan or Curtis were alive when this happened either.
No.
Nope.
You can make an educated guess.
And the first ever event was a championship event, if that gives anyone a hint. Like, to me, I think there's only like 2 possible answers here because 2 of the teams didn't exist in that first year. The correct answer is 126. Brennan?
I didn't get it.
Curtis?
No.
Jordan?
Nope.
Very nicely done. So an interesting thing, people will be like, oh, like there was 126 teams that first year. No, but team numbers didn't actually lock in until 1998. The first 7 years of the competition, team numbers changed year to year. So it was only in 1998. So if anyone has a team number below 200 or below 207, I believe, first year could have been anywhere from 92 to 98. And the team numbers were given out alphabetically. So that's why 188 has that team number because of W, while Team 1 was sponsored by 3D Systems, like the number 3. So just a little bit of first history there for you. All right. Brennan, you're trash talking, buddy. Just call me Jeff is 0 for 6. In case
He's trying.
2 questions left for Brennan to try and pass Jordan and for Curtis to make a comeback.
Yeah. Get them all 3 wrong, Brennan. Give me a chance.
Since 2008, how many times has the highest score in the world involved a Canadian team?
Oh boy.
2, 4, or 6, or 8? This was a walk down memory lane going through this one.
I was between 2, and I had to guess.
That's fair. Honestly, if I had this one, I did not know off the top of my head. I looked it up and counted. Okay. Two, 4, 6, or 8. Yeah, there's a lot of epic matches in here with Canadian teams, and a lot of these ones with Canadian teams didn't even happen at the championship. They happened at events in Canada.
Yeah.
Waterloo 2011 would be an example.
Yep.
Where it was close to the perfect match, but then just two tubes were missed. Correct answer is 6. Brennan?
I did get it right.
Curtis?
I was debating between 6 and 4, and I went for 4.
Oh.
I believe it was 2008, 2010, 2011, 2013, 2015, and 2014
was us. 11, 14.
Yeah.
Us and Dave.
Yep, at Durham, one of the first matches
in Ontario, like basically. Yeah.
Nicely done. And so, Brennan, you got that one correct. Jordan, did you get that one correct?
No, I think Brennan's taking the lead.
All right, let's take a look here. Smooth and Paula. Hey, great squid. You're catching up there. So, I mean, sort of dropping down, rather. What was your name again, Curtis?
Helpful Condor.
Where are you right now?
14th. I am a ways down.
Well, this next question is worth double the points. So let's do it.
Right.
Rank the following teams from most to least Einstein appearances, not Blue Banners this time, Einstein appearances. Team 2056, 254, 1678, or Team 217. I feel like this answer, well, I don't want to say anything. I don't want to give away. It feels very weird seeing 2056 in red. I want them to be in blue there, but then 254 already took blue.
Yeah, 2 blue teams.
But 217 being in dark green as opposed to lime green, also a little bit disconcerting.
Yeah, 2 blue teams, 2 green teams. So
That's true.
this one's tricky.
It is tricky.
I'm like on the edge of my seat. I'm like waiting for the last 2 answers to come in.
Because there's a lot of things to think about. The different 217's been around for a long time, and 254 has been as well. Obviously, 2056 and 1678 are a bit newer. How does that play in? Lots of some of these teams have won world championships. Interesting stuff here. I think okay, there we go. Correct order is 217, 254, 1678, 2056. Goes 9876. Brennan, did you get it correct?
I did not.
Hey, Curtis, did you get it correct?
I was feeling okay, but I thought 1678 was a little bit higher, so I got this one wrong too.
Jordan?
I got it correct.
Oh,
Jordan,
nice.
look at that, buddy.
Wow.
Oh my gosh.
So let's take a look at our standings. Third place, Honest Wolf. Second place, Focused Wombat. First place. Oh, Jordan, you must not have gotten a Great Squid. Wow, Brennan, you
Yeah.
fell
Wow.
that far.
Yeah.
Well,
I think
congratulations.
the last question that pushed me over the edge. I was like,
Yeah, double the
2,000
points.
for one question.
Okay, so here's how this works. Brennan, what place did you finish in?
4th.
Fourth. Oh, Curtis, lower than fourth. So
Yeah,
everyone-
somewhere down there.
send in your screenshots to communications@firstroboticscanada.org to claim your prizes. Jordan, congratulations as being the unofficial winner. Brennan, congratulations for retaining your crown. Curtis, is there someone you'd like to nominate to come on the show?
Yes. So Evan actually accepted my invite. So
It's
he's
Evan
actually
Cobby?
also on Waffles.
Yes.
No, we declined. We just declined Cobby. That's what happens, right, Brennan?
That's true. He does get declined fairly regularly.
Ooh.
So Curtis, can you do me a favor? Can you send me Evan's contact info so I can reach out to him for the next Kahoot challenge, and we'll get Evan on to the show. Curtis, did you say Evan's a student on the Waffles?
No, he's a mentor.
Oh, he's a mentor on the Waffles. Okay, very
Mhm.
cool. So we'll have some more waffle on waffle combat. It's like a stack with butter
Yeah,
in between.
He's a special mentor. He's a long distance mentor. He's actually an alum of 1425.
Oh wow! So PNW, like
Yeah.
way.
He is
mentor.
very into stats though, so he's not going to be an easy one.
That okay. Well, that tells me I'll have to turn up the difficulty next time around, and maybe we'll do one when Jordan. Jordan's hosting a lot over the next few weeks, so we should get one on the show when Jordan's there. Hey, thanks for coming on. But we do have a few extra minutes here before the next segment. So, Brennan, do you want to tell us a little bit about we've alluded to it, the XRC sim that you've been working on?
Yeah, for sure.
With
So
Curtis and with others, obviously.
yeah, we have a bunch of fantastic participants. Basically, it's kind of been a grassroots initiative started by an FTC team called Gluten Free. They're ex-world championship or team.
Yes.
They
Gluten
technically
Free
are
is
the
like
reigning world.
They're like the
champion.
cheesy poops of FTC.
Exactly. They're a fantastic team. And their team actually developed a FTC simulator originally for the FTC game, which has transitioned this year into the Infinite Recharge game. So we've been hosting a whole bunch of different awesome events that are like full scale alliance selections, qualifications, eliminations, where people can play as different robots in the Infinite Recharge game and have everything refed, and it's really exciting.
So it's basically all you folks have turned first into a video game.
Absolutely. Yeah, and we have a whole bunch of people participating from around the world. We have several Ontario people, but there's people from Texas in the chat. We have some people from Virginia. We've even had people from Israel play. So
Nicely
it's pretty global.
And there's 3 different robots you can pick from based on FRC teams. There's one based on the Robotiers 2481.
Yep.
And there's one based on 125.
Yes.
Yes.
And then the third one is kind of just a basic robot that was developed by the Gluten Free team if they were making a FRC robot.
And it is pretty cool stuff. So So, and I see Tegan's put a link in chat, secondrobotics.org, for people who want to check it out. And I recommend it. I had a chance to be a part of their webcast for their district championship event, and it was a lot of fun. You know, it's cool. Get to see robots. You know, I love robots in all shapes and sizes and anything like that. Brendan, Curtis, anything else you want to plug or anything you want to talk about? Tell us about cool things that the Waffles are doing, Brendan.
Well, Waffles wise, I guess we're just finishing our presentations. The chairman's team did their chairman's presentation like an hour ago. So
oh wow, how'd
that was
that go?
exciting. I think it went well. So
were you like the mentor in the room?
No, I wasn't, but Tegan was. So I got filled in after that. But yeah, hopefully all the teams are well prepared for their interviews that they're having, the Dean's List and all the first global awards, the Infinite Recharge at Home stuff as well.
It is a very busy time, but remember, folks, if you want to find out who's going to win these awards, tune in next Tuesday for the award show, Chairman's Dean's List, STEMathon, all sorts of goodness like that. And so, Brendan, when you won Dean's List, it was different. There wasn't an interview process back then, right?
There was for me.
Oh, there wasn't. So you were the first year of the interviews?
I might have been the first year or second year, but yeah, pretty early on.
Any advice to our students who are interviewing right now?
Yeah, I mean, just be confident, talk about yourself. You know, the judges are there to hear about you, and you know, you're clearly awesome students because the teams recognized you. So, you know, be proud of what you accomplish, and you know, go in with confidence. Just tell them all about you.
I love that advice because, you know, it's really interesting. We have this beautiful community, and we preach humility. You know, you don't want to be boastful and, you know, overdo it. But at the same time, you know, when you're competing for something like this, you need to let people know. And it's okay to be proud of your accomplishments. Like, you should always be proud of your accomplishments. And, you know, to tell these judges who want to hear these really neat stories that you have, and, you know, talk to them about the stuff that you've done, you know. And when you talk about your team accomplishments, let them know the specific parts that you were involved in. And don't feel like you're stealing credit from others, because, and, you know, it's always important to attribute credit. Like Brennan was just doing it right now with the XRC Sim. He talked about all the people who worked on it to help put it together, but it still is something that he's been a part of and Curtis has been a part of. And like Jordan earlier, when he was talking about the magazine, isn't like, I did the magazine on my own. It was like, you know, like works with a great team or whatever, but it was still something that it was a passion project for you, right, Jordan?
Mm-hmm. It was really fun, and working in a team is always a pleasure, especially at the First Canada Youth Council.
Yes, that group is super, super special. So, Brennan, Curtis, thank you for coming on. Thank you for playing along. Curtis, thanks for being a great sport. Send me the contact info for Kabi, and we'll get him on the show at some point. I'm not exactly sure when the next one's going to be, but Kahoot Challenge. Hope everyone had a good time. And Brennan, Curtis, we will see you soon.
Yeah,
take care, guys.
Thanks for having us on.
Of course.
Yes, thank you.
All right, now, before we get to our next segment, let's take a look at a video from one of our sponsors, 3M.
So first robotics competition is the epitome of the robotics competitions here in Canada. It's an opportunity for high school students to get involved in the engineering design of an entire robotics system.
People think robotics is all about building the robot, right? But building the robot is only half the challenge. Building the robot is actually a vehicle for you to build your own self.
For our Canadian manufacturers to stay competitive, there's a lot of automation and robotics that have to go into our manufacturing facilities. So the skills that the kids are learning in this competition hit that mark spot on.
There's definitely the technical ones. You know, I've learned how to do CAD design. I've learned how to work machines. But one of the really, really big ones that I really like is and I think it's really important in this world, is I've learned how to work with a team. Without being able to work as a team going into industry, it's not going to work out.
There are absolutely skills that the students are using today that are things that we use in professional careers that have to do with STEM. They are learning how to communicate. They are learning how to collaborate. They're learning how to think outside the box so that they're not limiting themselves to one thing. They're getting to do coding, marketing, design, engineering, science, the whole 9 yards all together.
It really teaches you all these different skills that you wouldn't think that you would know. It teaches you, how to work with other people, how to do soft skills, communication, teamwork, leadership, all that kind of stuff.
Some of our alumni have gone on to receive excellent scholarships at top-tier universities, and because of that, they've started getting known well by top-tier companies, which allows our brand to carry on as they work for large technological companies in the programming sector, in the automation sector. It's really interesting to see where we end up.
All right. Well, thank you, 3M, for all your generous support of First Canada. So, Jordan, it is story time, right?
Oh, this is definitely one of my favorite kinds of segments.
Yeah, for me too. I do love the Kahoot challenge, but I just love hearing from the alumni and all the cool stuff that they're doing and all the good stuff that's going on. So let's welcome our guest today, who is Amanda Chan, a First Canada alum of SWAT FRC Team 771, where she was the lead programmer and helped launch the now strong student-led programming team. After graduating, she went on to the University of Waterloo, computer science. Water. Lou. There we go. I love it. Makes me so happy. She began her current role as a software engineer at Amazon. Welcome, Amanda.
Thank you.
First off, I love the headphones. Big fan. Very cute like that. But thank you for coming on the show. And, this is a segment where we talk to first alumni about their stories. And so the first question is, Amanda, what was your first journey like? Where did it begin? How did it go? And where are you now?
I joined first. Well, I went to St. Mildred's, and in grade 11 and grade 12, SWAT was our first team. So I joined as, I think, the programmer in grade 11 and grade 12, and that was how I got started. At the time, the team was really small. It was something like maybe 2 people or 3 people, and we had daunting tasks such as, making the robot drive and making it go autonomous and all of that jazz. And that's sort of where I first, we had computer science class, but this was my first exposure to working in a group of people to accomplish like a multidisciplinary hard problem. So you had the hardware, you had the software, you had, like you mentioned earlier, and it's a really different beast to program one thing by yourself than it is to program something for something else with a bunch of people. And that's sort of how I got interested in just learning to build things. And I think it was one of the factors that led me to decide to do first engineering in the school, but then I switched into computer science after. So it was definitely an important experience I had in deciding what to do in university. And I'm pretty happy where I am now. So does that help?
Yeah, that definitely helps. So, so had you coded before joining the first team, or was that like your first experience with programming?
We had computer science class. I think there was something in grade 11 and grade 12, and that had like a total of like less than 10 people. So it wasn't my first coding experience. It also wasn't, but it was my first coding experience coding with more than one other person.
Right.
So yeah, team coding experience.
And what year was this? Just to give people a sense of
grade 11-ish. So yeah.
So sorry, wait.
2011-ish.
There we go.
Sorry.
No, like you never know how old someone is. You could have done grade 11 in 2017 or 2003. I wouldn't know the difference. So one of those things. So that's really, really exciting. Jordan, do you have a question for Amanda?
Yeah. So I want to know, what's your proudest moment in first?
Oh, okay. So first was also my first time like programming on a robot. So I had never programmed hardware before. And we had this in I think 2011, I think the game was called Locomotion. But basically we had built this this thing where I think the task was to put tubes on a wall. And our design was this like parallel bar design with this like square thing at the top, and in autonomous you had to like put this tube on the wall, and I had just like me and our mentor, and I just could not figure out how to get the geometry to work to get this tube on the wall. And then like eventually last minute it finally worked, and I was just ecstatic to find out that it was working and working reliably. And that was when I was like, wow, it's actually super cool to write a couple of things on a computer and then have it like reliably work all the time on this machine over here. So that was one of my like most exciting and happiest moments, when things work.
I have to say, you know, I enjoy coding, but like there's something, you know, like when you solve a problem in code, it's like, oh yeah, really satisfying. And like I was like a pure math person, so like I like, you know, like writing programs to like, you know, solve math problems and, you know, figure out combinations and whatever. So you get that joy, but there's something truly special about writing code that makes something move. I don't know.
I agree.
It's like so distinct, you know. It's like, whoa, like I created motion.
Yeah.
You know, so I think that's really what hooks a lot of people with first, and I think that's really, really special. So
I think
you know,
so too, especially when it balances like PID controllers and stuff.
Yeah.
It's like, oh man, it's moving on its own, and then like there's more stuff that goes on that I didn't even explicitly program it to do. That's just a very interesting feeling. I like it.
I know for me, the first time I saw, you know, that I worked on a robot where, like, you know, we did PID control and like PID zeroing. So basically, the robot saying, "I'm staying in this spot," and just the coolness of like being able to show people is like, "Hey, look, by pushing the robot," and they push the robot, and the robot pushes back. It's like, and you show them like no hands on the controls. It just knows to stay there.
Yeah,
it's
like magic.
Yeah,
but it's just
like,
math.
It's like I created a life form. No, it's just math. Exactly.
Yeah.
It's just like it's a
and
loop and it's
physics,
neutralizing.
Yeah.
And it makes perfect sense. But then when you do these various tasks like balancing or like getting things to go to very precise positions, or like those smooth turns, you know.
Oh yes, yeah. The smoother. We spent a lot of time trying to make the turn smooth, and it was so subtle. But to me, as the person who did it, it was like, oh yes.
I
Nobody
know
else
exactly.
cares, but I do.
I remember, you know, the first time when like we would program turns in autonomous mode. It was like very like straight and then 90 degrees and then straight and 90 degrees. The first time like we actually got it to cut proper arcs. So it was like, it was constantly calculating the distance it had to go and was constantly calculating the best possible path to take. And it was just like, oh my goodness, like this is.
I got it. Yeah.
Yeah, it is very cool. Very, very cool stuff. So, you know, we talked about like proudest moment at first. Do you have like a favorite story of something that happened while you were on the team or at an event or maybe in your school or anything like that?
To be honest, I don't really remember distinct events. I know that every single match that we went into, something would like spontaneously explode or something would just like, and I don't remember the details of each individual event because I was extremely sleep deprived. But I remember loving the times these happened because it was like a time where we were able to reach out to other teams and ask for help for things that like your match is in 30 seconds. You have to like your like chassis like broke apart or something. You have to figure this out now. And there's this sense of like urgency and the sense of like camaraderie that I really enjoyed. I'm sorry I don't have like an exact time, but I just really loved being able to reach out to other teams in times of dire need. It felt like really like we were in this together, even though we're competing against each other, and we had to solve this now. And I just like that feeling.
I mean, that's one of the best things about the first community. Don't you agree, Jordan?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like I just always found that these moments that you have where you realize that you're not on your own, it just feels like, okay, like this world is like an okay place. I don't know. It just that sort of idea that, okay, like if I can't figure this out, someone's going to be able to help me. And that's just very freeing to think about that. So.
Yeah, it's freeing. And it's also like when you're building a project, like when you're out of school, it's rarely done as one person. And so to be able to kind of reach out and understand when to ask for help and how to ask for help and how to get things done together is just like a really, I'm sure, I think you guys alluded to this earlier, but it was a really important thing to know and to learn. And also something that I like to look at when I'm picking companies to work for, like what is the culture of the company and what is the team culture like? Is everybody siloed off, or are they more willing to work together to do things? And is there like a culture of knowledge sharing? And that's something I look for and enjoy. And that's something that kind of started with first.
Yeah, and you know, I think a lot of first alums feel the same way because you in this program, like you have this sense of community and camaraderie. And so when you go to the workplace, you're looking for those same sorts of things. And I am a huge proponent of, you know, when you're looking for a job, like people are always talking, they ask me, it's like, oh, I've got this job interview coming up. Like what questions are they going to ask me? I often say like, what kind of questions are you going to ask them? Because as much as the company is interviewing you, you're interviewing them to know if you want to work there for the next however many years of your life. And so it's really important to think about that. I think it's for anyone, young people, old people, if you're applying for a job, like try and investigate to find out what that culture is like. If it's a culture that's going to fit for you, is it the right pace? Is it the right kind of camaraderie? Like, how is that going to go? And I'm really glad that you mentioned that there. Well, do you have a question? Oh, sorry, Amanda, go on.
I don't know, you just spend like 8 hours every day working there. So
Yeah.
if you don't really like working there, then you're gonna be miserable. So
exactly. It's exactly how it is, you know, and like I always say, like, there's 168 hours a week and you spend 40 of them at work, and that's way too long to be miserable, you know, to do that for years of your life. So it's why it's important to find a place that you like to work, find work that you're interested in, you know, like obviously not every part of your job is going to be perfect, but you want to find something that where there's enough of your passion in there where you're like, yeah, I like doing this, you know, and when you hit that point, it's the best feeling. Like I am lucky enough to be one of those people who has that right now. And I'm just like, yeah, I like what I do. Like, this is cool. Like, this is dope.
I'm so happy for you.
Thank you. Well, I mean, I get to work with First all day. Like, what's better than that, you know?
That's true.
Yeah. Jordan, do you have a question for Amanda?
Yeah, and also just, you know, as we were talking about, just being able to interact with others and work with others, it's something that I really love about First, like at competitions, as we talked about a bit earlier on the show, if you ever need something, you can just holler to a team across the pits and they'll be willing to help you. So I think that's really great. And speaking of like working with others, where did you go to school and what did you study and why did you choose this program / school?
College, right?
Yes.
University? Yeah. Okay.
Wow, you're sounding very American now, Amanda.
Oh no, it's terrible. So actually, I went to University of Waterloo. I started in mechatronics engineering and then I switched into CS. And I think the way I chose it was like a little bit non-canonical, but it still might be an interesting story. So I think I was accepted to about 6 schools. And so I put like 1 school on every dice, and then on like a dice, and then I I did this. Okay, so I did this multiple times, but basically I had 6 schools. I narrowed it down to 3, and then I put those 3 on dices, so 2, and I kind of like split it so that it would be like uniformly random. And then I just like rolled the dice, and then it was on between, and then after it came up, I was like kind of unsatisfied with the result. I was trying to choose between like UFT engineering science, Waterloo physics, or Waterloo mechatronics. And I think at the end of it, I decided that the physics came up, so I killed it. And then I had 2 choices. So then I just flipped a coin, and then it came up on mechatronics. So that's where I went.
That is amazing. So first of all, I love that sort of process. But interesting. Yeah. Well, I think it's amusing. But like, there's a famous story. Pascal, the great mathematician who specialized in probability, Pascal's triangle and such, was asked one time, Pascal, when you have a tough decision, how do you make the decision? He goes, I flip a coin. And the person who asked him was like astonished that this mathematician would leave something like that to chance. He goes, but I don't, I say, heads is one outcome, tails is the other outcome. But then I don't pick based on the outcome of the coin toss. I pick on my reaction to the outcome to the coin toss.
Yeah.
Because that tells me what I actually want. So if I flip heads and heads comes to Waterloo, and I'm like, then it's like, oh, I know I actually want the other option. So it's sort of kind of what you did there, So you and Pascal, like you're basically like BFF, like you got the same plan right there. So,
I wish.
Yeah.
But yeah, it really is a great way to check your gut reaction. And it was kind of like a buildup of like multiple different experiences. I also did QCSIS, which is like a quantum thingy for kids at Waterloo. So I got to go on their campus at some point. And then I thought it was like kind of a miserable campus. But then I decided that the people were really interesting. So I think it was overall a good decision.
Waterloo has many strong suits. There's like a million things great about that school, but it's not necessarily going to win the prize for like most attractive
Beautiful?
campus.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah. There's many other prizes that wins. Like, I mean, they win actual prizes every year for like best school and all, but the campus is, like it's an acquired taste. I would say. I know when I went there, I remember like my first week at school, it was like, okay, I had this idea of like these idyllic schools that you see on TV with like trees and all this stuff. And so like, it's my lunch break and I'm like, I'm just gonna sit outside and eat lunch under a tree. Like this is what you do on TV. And that's what I want to do at university. And so I found this beautiful tree. It's like, there's no one sitting under it. I'm like, oh my goodness, this is going to be my tree. This is where I'm going to sit for the next 5 years. This is going to be like, I'm very like,
you love that tree.
Yeah. And so I went to go sit under that tree. Then I realized there was no one sitting under that tree because it was like, covered with goose.
Oh,
It's
that
Waterloo.
sounds about right. That sounds about right. Yeah.
And so now I'm covered in goose crap. I'm like, I'm never sitting under a tree at this stupid campus ever again, kind of thing. And
Oh,
from
I'm
there
so
on,
sorry.
I eat my lunch in the SLC from now on. You know, it was like,
oh, that's tragic.
But
ruined your dreams.
I know. But hey, Waterloo's. But I have to say, when was the last time you've been to campus?
Okay, like I think 2018, 2017-ish was when I like visited campus or something.
I was last there in 2019. Like it's wild how campus changes so much.
Oh, is it beautiful now?
I wouldn't necessarily say there's more stuff. There's more stuff. There's just more buildings. Like there's an M3 now. Did you know that? There's another math building.
There was an M3 for the longest time.
Okay. I'm old, Amanda. So, but
I understand.
But like, there's an LRT line that goes to campus now.
Oh, cool. Oh, yeah,
the
LT. Yeah, the Ion.
Yeah, so there's good stuff going on at.
That's true. It's getting better.
At Waterloo. But so while studying computer science at Waterloo, how did you like that program?
So one of the main reasons I went into CS was that it had a lot of flexibility in terms of the classes you could take. So there were like different versions of the math classes and different versions of the CS classes and different combinations of those that you could take, and your schedule could be like really flexible. And I couldn't wake up at 8:30 for the engineering classes. So I decided that like this was not a lifestyle I could live with. But yeah, I think it was the flexibility. I ended up taking I was really interested in a lot of the math classes that were under the math department. So that's what I like focused on. And I had a really good time learning a bunch of concepts that I will never use in like the rest of my life. And that's sort of how it goes.
I was a pure math major, Amanda. So I feel you on that one. What was your favorite math course you took at Waterloo?
I think it was groups and rings.
Nice.
I really something about the like group theoretic approach or like the algebraic approach to stuff that I really like enjoy. I'm more of a I think I'm better at analysis, but definitely like in my heart I enjoy algebra more.
Number theory was probably my favorite course.
Number theory? Wait, what course code was this?
It's been a while, but PM 342 maybe.
Okay, I don't remember. I don't know if I saw it.
That it's like a very classical algebra course. You know, like a lot of study on primes and
cool.
all that sort of good stuff. So it was I liked it a lot. That was probably my favorite one. The other course that I loved was public cryptography. Probably my other favorite course.
Oh, interesting. I think the only number theory I did was in Math 145, which was like the first.
Oh, so you did the 140s?
Of course. Why would you go into CS to take math courses if you're not going to take the interesting math courses?
So Jordan, what this is at Waterloo, it's really neat that when you're in the math faculty, you can take like the normal math courses, or like if you want to really challenge yourself or just like you love math, you can take these courses which are called the 40s, which are the harder math courses.
The fancy people.
So you're already at Waterloo math, but then there's like harder stuff. But it's really, really neat because you get challenged like every day sort of thing. And like, you're also surrounded by some of the most brilliant people you'll ever meet. It's just this wild environment, and it's just really, really, really cool stuff. So it's neat that a school like Waterloo, lots of schools have like these enrichment opportunities, but it's just like another thing. And those classes kind of also sometimes reminded me of like being on a first team, because it was just like, people who all had a common goal of like sharing, like they wanted these big suffering, you know, like there's like the suffering of the late nights of building a robot or whatever. Like people wanted the biggest challenge, you know, all these people wanted the hardest questions, which I thought is a unique way to go. So Jordan, do you have a question for Amanda?
Oh, you guys are making me so excited to apply to university. But how about, here's another question. Who has inspired you the most in your journey throughout first and maybe life?
I think I had two teachers while I was in high school that I really appreciated. One of them was Mr. Chow. He was a physics teacher in grade 11, and I think only in he was one of my physics teachers. And it was really interesting because he had this different paradigm for teaching. In particular, one of the gripes I had about test taking is that our education system is that it was really focused on like a regurgitation and just like memorizing a set of instructions to kind of just like regurgitate. And that is like not really what math is, what physics is, and what a lot of sciences are. Like there's a lot of beauty and it's not roads. And so, and there's a lot of understanding behind it. So what his paradigm was, is that it was really non-punitive. Like in particular, you could take the same test like a lot of times, and every week there was a test. And that sounds terrible, but you didn't get numbers for those tests. You got these colors, and they were like green, yellow, and red. And basically green means that you really understood this. Yellow means you didn't really understand it, and red means that you kind of like need to work on this topic. And every week you could retake these tests as many times as you want, and every time it would be different questions. And I really enjoyed that, like over time, if I didn't understand something, it wasn't like, oh, one and done. It was like you could really take your time to just understand the topic and then do well on it. And I think that's like a much better approach to teaching something than being like, okay, well, you had a bad day this day, so you're like basically don't understand this. That's not a reflection of how humans work.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something. And he just really loved physics, and I really loved asking him questions, and it was awesome. Miss Hines was also one of my teachers. She taught me math, and she taught me, I think, CS in high school. And I honestly don't remember why she was amazing, but I remember that she was like really inspirational. And I don't know, she was a great teacher. That's all I remember about her.
It goes back to that famous quote. You might not remember what someone says, but you'll remember how they made you feel. And
yeah,
so
that's exactly it.
Yeah, there's teachers like that. So now, Amanda, you know, your journey's taken you. You're working for Amazon. And, you know, so what's that like? What's it like coding for Amazon?
Actually, I think it's very team dependent, but
Okay.
it's a very different experience than working with First. I think there were a lot of things that I didn't really expect. One thing is that you do get to learn a lot of really technical things. Like in particular, Amazon made AWS, so there's a lot of AWS services like, you know, like DynamoDB, Lambda, and all of that stuff, and how you build software that scales and uses all of these efficiently, and how you design things that are maintainable is something that I'm learning as I go about. It's and because like Amazon can operate on some scale like 10,000 TPS, that's not even like that bad, and
Yeah.
it's just, and so when you make design decisions, you have to think about like these kinds of things, and I just think it's very, and there are a lot of people around me who like really understand these services really well. So it's a good environment to learn how things connect together and how to build software for large companies that scale. And it's also maintainable. Like there's a philosophy where you want to write software that like every line of code you write might last for like a lot of years. And in practice, that may or may not be true, but you should be careful of how you write your code so that the next person who looks at it, which might be you, is easy to debug. The other thing is like the infrastructure of like how things are put together. So like how you go from writing the code to deploying in production. There's like all these things that come in between. And it was really interesting to learn how they ensure like sanity checks, how they do unit testing, how they do like all of the stuff. So there's a lot of technical learning that I ended up like doing at Amazon. So that's which has also happened in First, but I think not to the same extent. Like there's,
yeah,
I think there's like a little bit of a gap there. So yeah, that's the main thing.
And how large is your team?
So Amazon has this principle called like 2 pizza teams or something. So every team is like less than a room that can fit 2 pizzas or something. And so our service.
2 pizzas, did you say?
Okay, yeah, sorry. Okay, let me explain this a little bit more. Yeah. Basically, I think the philosophy is something like you should not have a team such that 2 pizzas cannot feed the number of people in this room.
There you go.
So you don't want to like make a team that's too big because it becomes unwieldy, difficult to manage, should be more modularized, etc. So my team, actually, my core team is about 5 people. And we are now a part of, we recently moved services. So now we're a part of like a larger, I think, 15 people team, but our core team that we do stand-ups with is about 5 people.
That's very neat that it's that small. And so like, do you like get to form like these like tight kind of bonds that like similar to a First team with your teammates, or is it more like, you know, just get stuff done?
I think I have like maybe 1 or 2 friends on the team, but it's definitely not as good as First.
Right.
And that might be like a culture thing. Every So that's what the goal
there's also a difference between work and pleasure too. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
You come into first with a different sort of attitude, and with work, for a lot of people, it's like, this is
Yeah.
I got to do it, whatever. That's totally okay too, but you've got to make it work. So that's like very cool to hear about all the good stuff at Amazon. And would you have any advice for first students who might be interested in working at Amazon someday, like our alums who are in university right now?
To want to work at Amazon specifically?
Yeah, sure.
Like as a software engineer, I don't think that you should be very company driven. Like, I don't think that you you can be mission driven. So if you want to make an impact on the world, that's great. And maybe Amazon just has a bunch of like characteristics that are similar to a lot of other large companies. So like Facebook, Google, and whatnot. They also have so I think you should be focused on how to become somebody who's, well, first of all, you should be doing something that you like. But second of all, you should be focused on being a good software engineer. So when you're in school, focus on actually learning what you're being taught, as opposed to just trying to pass the classes. You should be focused on, I would put some emphasis on trying out and stuff practically. So I would try to get internships by applying to these companies. It should be something that's on your mind. But overall, I just think that if you know your stuff, then people will notice. And if you work hard at what you do, then people will notice too. So I think generally just know your stuff.
Know your stuff and work hard. That's pretty solid advice to me. Hey, Amanda, one question for you. We're gonna go off the board here, but is there something that you're passionate about or something awesome you do not related to FIRST or work?
Oh yeah. Okay. So when I was in, so Linux is like this operating system, and I'm like a huge window manager fan. So which I guess for people who might, it's just like window managers are basically how you place certain windows on the screen. So where things are placed, how things are placed, et cetera, and so my thing was I really enjoy just installing different ones and just playing with different things and coming up with backgrounds that are really cool and stuff. I don't know, it's kind of weird and kind of nerdy, but I really enjoy just playing with window managers, and
that's neat to me. I mean, just setting things up in an aesthetic way, but also a functional way.
Yeah, exactly. So how to make things tile better and how to make things more efficient like that. I don't know.
I like that because there's an artistic piece to that too. If you think about it,
it has to be beautiful.
Yes, but functional at the same time too. Yeah, I'm I'm not to that level or anything, but I know I'm very particular about before I do one of these shows. It's okay, Zoom is right here, one copy of the show doc is right here, Twitch chat is right here. But it needs to meld together, right?
I mean, on some level, I prefer beauty over function. So okay, I would much rather put up with some really obnoxious thing that tells you some big thing that tells you what your battery percentage is, rather than just make it super functional. But that's I just like shopping for window managers.
That is awesome to hear. Hey, before we go, Amanda, one question we have from the chat, and maybe you know the answer, maybe you don't. But how did St. Mildred's Team 771 come up with such a cool logo? Do you know the history behind that logo?
I have no idea, but I think Miss Sills might.
Okay, we'll have to check with her then. We'll bring it up. Awesome. Hey, Amanda, thank you so much for coming on the show. This was really great. It's great for our community to hear your story and to hear the journey, the coolness of it, and it was fun for me just getting to talk Waterloo math with someone. That's always a blast like that. But also,
a small group of people.
I know there really is. But I'm also hearing your experiences at Amazon, and that's we're really excited to have Amazon come on as a new supporter of FIRST Canada, and we're looking forward to that partnership. And really cool that we have alumni that are working there. So thank you so much for being on the show, Amanda, and we hope to have you back sometime. And good luck with everything, and stay safe out there. Okay.
Thank you. You too. Bye.
Right. Bye. Hey, Jordan, that's a wrap on another show. What do you think?
I really enjoyed today's show, especially with FTC and with Amanda talking about Amazon.
And you kicking everyone's rear end at Kahoot. Oh. Just throwing that out there, buddy.
I mean, I think I just got really lucky, but
hey, luck matters. Luck matters. You can't, we all end up with enough bad luck at times. We have the good luck. We just got to take it and soak it up, right, buddy?
Oh, yes, 100%. So I did know all the answers to.
Of course, yes.
Yeah.
All right, everyone. Well, that was today's show. Next week, tune in for the award show. You want to find out who's winning chairman's, Dean's List, the STEMathon award winners. We're also going to have a chat with some of the past Dean's List finalists to hear what they're up to. John Hobbins is going to be on the show, giving a welcome from First Canada, talking about all the good stuff that's happening in the FRC world. So you definitely want to tune in next week for the award show. But until then, everyone, stay safe out there, be good, do all your good stuff. Good luck with all your interviews coming up. Good luck with everything that's happening. And we will see you all next week. Thanks to our producers, moderators, and chat. Bye, everyone.
Bye.